Anyone, come on, stick your hands up and let's hear from you guys in the centre ground. Yes, sir.
My name's Tom Murphy, and a bit like Chris, I've been writing to the local paper for a number of years in support of unitary authorities. Mr. Letwin's talked to me about it, and we beg to differ. The point, I'm not going to go too much on unitary because explain more on unitary because Chris did that good presentation. I think because that's not on the cards politically at the moment until after the election, and we'll see what happens and see if Labour, which they did before, they were in favour of unitary authorities, and in fact that's why in 2009 Wiltshire and 9 other counties went unitary and have been very successful. Wiltshire especially is regarded even by Lord Heseltine, who is a Tory grandee, holds them up as a model authority, and is always giving them as an example of how local government should operate. What I'd like to just comment on, because we've got a lot of councillors here tonight, is the current position with the tri-council proposal, which I'm not sure you're aware that unbeknown, with no public consultation at all, we are now going to have in the next year a tri-council with Weymouth and Portland, West Dorset and soon North Dorset, going to form basically, you could say, a mini unitary authority, except that they haven't got the powers of the county council. There's going to be 235,000 people in this area, and they've got 117 councillors. But what they've done, which is very interesting, is they're saying they're going to be 3 sovereign councils. In other words, they're not going to change the councils. They're going to carry on, and they're just going to have one, what they call a joint committee, which is representatives of the 3 councils. And the only good thing about that, there is actually position for a minority party. Mr. Byatt here will be representing Labour for Weymouth. Mr. Potter for the Liberal Democrats. I'm not sure who's going to be in North Dorset. But the point I wanted to make is that there's been about 20% redundancies of staff across these authorities. And they keep saying that's saving an awful lot of money. But it's interesting, but on the governance side, no councillors have changed. They've still got the same number of councillors, 117 there'll be, all costing a rough estimate, and this is an underestimate, of about £20,000 each. So, sorry, yeah, I knew the lady would jump in. I can assure you I'm correct. It's not just the allowances, which are about 6,000 a councillor, with the leader getting 30,000. It's all the on-costs, all the provision of meetings. I can assure you, having been in local government, that costs at least £20,000 a councillor. And if you can prove me wrong, then please show me that. That would mean that if we did and became one, if it was one sovereign council, in other words, the 3 would join together, and say there would be a third less, there would be, I would work it out, if you based it on county council electors of 7,000 elector per councillor, it would go down from 117 councillors to 39 councillors, and based on 20,000 a year per councillor, that would be a saving of £1.5 million a year alone, just from doing that. And if it was unitary, I have published the figures in the paper before, that would be 246,000. 246 councillors would go down to about 100, which would make a saving of 3 million. There's a famous phrase, turkeys don't vote for Christmas, and you wonder why the councillors have never considered reducing the number of councillors. In fact, the business case actually says that isn't an option that they would even consider reducing the number of councillors. We've got a number of councillors here tonight, going back to the unitary point, who are members of the county council, the district council and the fire authority. 3 hats. They obviously do well at the hat festival when we have it in September, because they wouldn't know which hat to wear. And finally, if I could just make a point, because we've got Rebecca Knox here at the front row, who's from Bedminster, who's a county councillor. She's also chairman of the Dorset Fire Authority. Now, interestingly, I'm not sure, that recently Dorset and Wiltshire decided to amalgamate into one fire authority. So we'll have one fire authority, I think, from 2016. And the people who voted for that are also here tonight. So why, I'd like someone to explain to me in the forum from the councillors, not the members, because why they felt that they could have one fire authority. They didn't change the number of councillors, by the way. One fire authority, but we're going to have 3 different 3 councils still operating.
So Tom, we're going to get an answer.
I know,
see a nod
I know,
there.
but I'm just putting those facts,
Right.
and that there's been no public consultation, which goes back to the point that was made about Verse Farm.
Before you give up the mic, though, I want to just ask you, what are you going to do about it? What is it that you would do to make happen what you'd like to see happen?
I think it's too late, unfortunately, because that's the way things operate. But there's a paper,
But surely it's not too late. I mean, we can do the same for this unitary thing in terms of forcing a referendum as we can on anything else, right?
Well, you ask Mr. Letwin, he tells me there is no legal powers as such, as far as I'm aware, to actually make a unitary authority. The tri-council that we're operating, the tri-council one, the one that is going to happen in the next year, Mr. Letwin's government gave 2.5 million to pay for the administration and put that in place. Interestingly, I don't know what the outcome was. East Dorset, which have also got 3 councils, they applied for money to help them with their cause, and they're really upset that they got nothing. I wonder if it's because we got a cabinet member of the government representing this area that we got 2.5 million. I'll leave you to decide that.
Let's have a response, if you'd like to his question. Do you want to? Yeah, sure.
Thank you. I'm Rebecca Knox, and I'm a Dorset County Councillor, and I am also the chairman of the Dorset Fire Authority. I can't answer any of the questions about the council arrangement because I don't actually sit at the district or borough level, but I'll just briefly explain something about how the Dorset Fire Authority and the Wiltshire and Swindon Fire Authority decided that it would be a better thing to actually combine. The difference with the fire authorities is that we've actually going to be changing, if it goes through, it still has got a little bit more to discuss at one level, the legal entities of those fire authorities. So the actual fire authorities become one. The business case for doing that showed that through various consultations through last year, if we had done what would be called partnership working, so each of the fire services in Dorset, Poole, Bournemouth, Swindon, Wiltshire did as much as they possibly could to maintain your frontline fire service without changing the legal statutory duties that lie behind the Fire Services Act, then we would have been making savings per annum of about 1 million a year. Now, that's absolutely fantastic, but what we actually looked at was to go that one step further, which was to look at the legal change of an authority. So I'm the chairman of one authority. Because of that, I have to have, with my fellow fire authority members, and I have 2 here, which is brilliant, I have to have a certain number of duty officers and flexi officers and what they call gold, silver and bronze command, covering the whole of Dorset, no matter how much or how little the fire service is doing that day or that week or that month. If we combine with Wiltshire and change that statutory duty to ensure that one authority will have the same number of flexi duties firefighters on call, on station, whole time retained, we actually found that the savings, and this started out at looking at 4 million a year, it's looking now as if we can save between 4 to 6 million a year. Now that is a substantial difference, but the difference between looking at our arrangement is our legal arrangement is different to some of the local boroughs and county councils, and it's when you inspect those legal arrangements, and this is why I believe that looking at it from a very, very local level is the most important thing, rather than having a national government imposing something on each area, because the arrangements can be different. And those arrangements in Dorset are changing. We have got some pan Dorset boards. I could talk about many of them this evening, but this is your night this evening. But that is why we've got 2 fire authorities looking to merge. The legal arrangement needs changing. It does need assistance from central government, but we proved the business case, and it was the right thing to do for the frontline services for you, but also for the firefighters and the staff, and the future of what the fire service will be doing, which is far more than putting out fires. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Tom, you want to come back?
Excellent presentation, and what she said is correct. That's the same arguments that could happen for the unitary.
There we go. Well, we'll just have to make that happen then, Tom. All right, who's next? Over here on the